Whether Taylor wants to retract the word joyful or not, we all heard her say it, and I was just shocked. I mean, I find that kind of response utterly shocking, that someone could be murdered in the middle of Manhattan, who happens to be an executive for a healthcare company, and people think this is something that makes them feel joyful.
That's liberal journalist and progressive pod person Taylor Lorenz imploding what's left of her career and stunning Piers Morgan by saying she was joyful about a man she disagreed with being murdered. Welcome to Nurk News, I'm Nurkish, and boy oh boy is it funny how quickly the mask of empathy comes off when someone dies that the left doesn't agree with. Because for days now, liberals have been openly celebrating the murder of Brian Thompson, who was the CEO of United Healthcare.
I'm not alone, you said. Healthcare executive down with party balloons was on an X post that you commented on. Why would you be in such a celebratory mood about the execution of another human being? Aren't you supposed to be on the caring, sharing left where, you believe in the sanctity of life?
I do believe in the sanctity of life. And I think that's why I felt, along with so many other Americans, joy, unfortunately, because it feels like...
Serious?
I mean,
joy at a man's execution?
Maybe not joy, but certainly not empathy. Because again,
we're watching the footage. How can this make you joyful? This guy's a husband, he's a father, and he's been gunned down in the middle of Manhattan. Why does that make you joyful?
Thousands of Americans that be murdered. So are the tens of thousands of Americans, innocent Americans, who died because greedy health insurance executives like this one push policies of denying care to the most vulnerable people. And the many millions of Americans that have watched people that I care about suffer and in some cases die because of lack of health care.
So should they all be killed then? Should they all be killed, these healthcare executives? Would that make you even more joyful?
No, that would not.
But why not?
And,
why are you laughing?
I think because it wouldn't fix the system.
You seem to find the whole thing hilarious.
I find your question funny.
A bloke's been murdered in the street. I don't find it funny at all.
I don't find it funny that tens of thousands of Americans die every year and because they are denied life-saving healthcare from people like the CEO.
Lorenz can pretend that she cares about poor people being denied healthcare or whatever nonsense she's going to say to try to cover her rear. But the fact is that simply doesn't fly because her and people like her are showing that the value they place on human life has conditions. I mean, apparently this death is worth celebrating for them because Thompson did something they didn't like. And let's not forget how they acted during COVID. It's becoming more and more apparent that the value they place on human life is contingent on whether or not they agree with you.
Now, I want to fix the system. You're right. We shouldn't be going around shooting each other with vigilante justice. No. I think that it is a good thing that this murder has led to America, or really the media elites and politicians in this country paying attention to this issue for the first time. You mentioned you couldn't understand why somebody would feel this reaction when they watched a CEO die. It's because you have not dealt, it sounds like, with the American healthcare system in the way that millions of other Americans have.
I've dealt with the healthcare system in various ways in America. I don't think it's perfect by any means, but the idea that I would view it as something...
Have you been denied life-saving treatment?
The idea that I would view it as something joyful that a man who's just a healthcare executive has been executed in the street, I find completely bizarre. Let me bring in Tommy here. Yeah. Tommy, I keep being told... Hang on, Taylor, I'll come back to you.
Okay,
Tommy,
don't say I'm joyful. I said
you said you were feeling joyful.
Yeah, I take that back. Joyful is the wrong word, Piers.
You think?
But I said, as I clarified,
you think?
Yeah.
You think joyful is the wrong word? Yeah.
Sure.
I'd say it is.
Vindicated, celebratory, because again, it feels like justice in this system when somebody responsible for the deaths of tens of thousands of Americans suffers the same fate as those tens of thousands of Americans who he murdered or
Tommy.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that she just realized she ended what's left of her career again. If you recall, in 2022, when she was working for the New York Times, she got in trouble for harassing the creator of the Libs of TikTok Twitter account by publicly sharing her identity and private information. Now it looks like she screwed herself again because following this interview, Vox Media announced that it will cease publishing her podcast and YouTube show, which weren't doing that great to begin with. It's almost like liberals are so hateful and bitter that they simply simply can't help themselves with this stuff. Because something tells me if that CEO was a black liberal woman, the reaction would be entirely different. All of this has nothing to do with principle or caring about the underprivileged, and everything to do with their heartlessness towards people they disagree with. I mean, you obviously don't have to like the guy, but he's still a human being with people who cared about him and the potential to change, which is something people like Lorenz should consider before ghoulishly celebrating their deaths. But let me know what you think. Do you buy Lorenz's excuse? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye!